you on radio this morning. Amazing that we were here and that was going on, isn't it? Wonders of modern technology, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to join everybody else of thanking Sir Arthur and Lady Folks and Sir Stirling and Lady Susie for gracing us again with their patronage, and I'm sure they have great fun doing it. Okay, as has been said, if you look to my left, to your right, the cars here really would grace any starting grid anywhere. And it's always invidious to select any names, whether they be performers or sponsors, partners or even cars, but the cars aren't listening, are they? You'll see that the second one along from here is a Ferrari that had disappeared. It had vanished for 40 years, and it was a kind of mythical car, this amazing Ferrari that people had seen, and the last time almost it was seen was here in Nassau. The car with bearing number 9 here actually took part in the original Bahamas Speed Week, so it's returned home after all these years. It was, we call them barn finds. And this Ferrari was found. It was in a state. It was restored, and you can see it here in all its glory. So I don't know. You know, I said the cars can't listen, but maybe they can talk, and maybe that car's sitting there thinking, oh well, I never thought I'd come back here, and isn't this strange? So that's a really great car. And then if you move along a bit, you have a British racing green car. This was in the good old days when cars were painted in the colours of their countries. So Italy was red, and Germany was silver or white, and Great Britain was green. And that C-Type Jaguar was driven by somebody who's here today, Stirling. I think you actually drove that very car, and probably won something. Sterling's record is remarkable because he almost never came second. You know, he either won or he broke, or occasionally he crashed, but he was not very often beaten, and that tells you an awful lot about the gentleman who's in amongst you today. It's a remarkable record. So Stirling drove that C-Type Jaguar, so that's pretty incredible too. And then next along we have the beautiful yellow Ferrari. Now that belongs to an English couple, David and Kate Cottingham, with us today, and they were going to bring that car last year until they found out the cost of the insurance, which is 0.35% of the value. If you think, I hate values because the cars are about history and what they did, but if you think of the values of these cars at $5 million, $10 million, and anyone who's good at sums, Mr. McQueenie maybe, you can figure that out. The cost of insuring that car. And David didn't bring it last year, you know, because it's a lot of money. But I was amazed when the entries started coming in from Carol Mason, who's worked tirelessly behind the scenes to get our entries from Europe, to see David had signed up for that car. So it's a special thank you for that, David, because you know I kind of know what it's cost you to get that here, and it's one of the most fantastic cars. So thank you for that. And then, of course, Stirling's brought his own car again. You can't keep a good man down, can you? He's brought his own Oscar there, so that's on pole position as he normally was. And we talked a little bit about Le Mans Stars, and as well as being, without a question of a doubt, the fastest driver of his day, Stirling was also the fastest runner. I think that's right, Stirling. You were rarely beaten at this sprint across the track. He was nearly always first off. There were always stories somebody ran across once or twice, they jumped into the side of the wrong car, they got in the passenger seat to the one next door, or got the gear stick up their trouser leg and things, but Stirling was always well away. So there you are, you have amongst you. Now just one other thing I'd like to touch on. We talked about the go-karts and these kids who've come here, and we talked about them getting into Formula One as Lewis Hamilton has done. He started from literally nothing. His father had 3 jobs to get him on the road. They didn't have any money. All they had was enthusiasm and will and vision. And here he is now. He's just signed a contract with the Mercedes Grand Prix team for $20 million a year. So, but it's not all about the money. These kids here, and I would urge you, when they finish their whizzing about, go and have a word with them. You'll be amazed. I couldn't call them my little aliens, because they're so self-confident, they represent themselves, they represent their families, their sponsors, their country and their sport really, really well. So get amongst them. They're here courtesy of Bank of Bahamas. Thank you, Paul, who wanted to support the youngsters. He wasn't so interested in these multi-million-dollar cars, but you know, he wanted to support that. And Peter Vlasov and Pippa and the family who did that, and James Lyle as well. And they really see what these kids are doing. Now, some of you may not know, but they've been out amongst the schools here. We paid for them with our sponsors' help to come here, but it's not a holiday. They've been out to the schools, to the private and public schools, and it's really astonishing what they've been doing. They've engaged with all of your children, some of them well off, some of them quite the reverse. And I've been to one of them, and the enthusiasm was absolutely remarkable. It was so exciting. And they've talked to them about their aspirations, they've talked to them about their schooling. The karting kids here have a schooling bus that they go to their races with. They're not allowed to give up their schooling because there's only one Lewis Hamilton. There are lots of others below who don't get to the top, so they have to fall back on good education and other things. So all of that's part of what we're trying to do. Really trying to get on. A group of these karters came away from Government High, and of their own volition in the evening they put together a plan to start a twinning with their school and your school here, so that in the months ahead they'll get on Facebook or whatever these kids do. I don't understand it, I'm way too old. But they'll move forward, so there'll be some commitment, and hopefully they'll come back. And if we could get one of your kids to go to England to see them, I think we'd have succeeded in what we're trying to do. So there's a great social commitment amongst the kids, and we haven't told them to do this. We honestly haven't told them. A few weeks back there were a lot of email traffic. I'm probably talking too much, but to me it's so important. There was a lot of email traffic. They were getting together and they were assembling bits of old race kit and crash helmets and books and things to bring here to give to your children. What they didn't anticipate was when they went to the schools in the last 3 days, they were receiving gifts, and the schools were preparing food and drink and giving them things to take back to England. So there's been a real exchange amongst all these youngsters, which we didn't plan. You know, we didn't plan it. So I think perhaps a round of applause for these kids and what they've been trying to do. Okay, now I think eventually Jay will utter the immortal words, but if we could gather the drivers to come to their cars in, as we've said, a more sedate manner, and some of the honoured guests, if they'll make their way over here, because we have the opportunity to give you the ride of your life. So let's get the show started, and I'll hand back to Jay. Thank you.